Okay, today's lesson is going to be creating our asteroid game and making it die when he hits the rock, because right now it's super easy because you never die. And then we'll keep track of our score as well. And maybe we'll do like a 3 lives and then the game ends or something. We'll see what time allots here. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. When we click play, we can shoot these things, right? And when we click the shoot, I added some special power-ups. So did I play this too much? No. We can switch. For me, I can switch weapons, and I got these apples that fire, and they take 3 shots. And if I get this diamond, it's hard to get it though. Oh man, I'm not great at this game. If I get this diamond, that allows me to freeze all of them. There you go, I got it. Now I've got this special power up. So I'll show you how this works. I'll hit this, and they all freeze for a bit. They all freeze. And what I like about this most is every time I use the freeze, when they come back, they're faster. So as you can see, they're speeding up over time. And so I think that's pretty cool. And so there's a reward for not using them because then they stay slow. Anyways, got my 3 types of weapons, and now I'm going to make it so that when I hit a rock, I die. Pretty simple. I'm going to go to my rocket ship code. Got this huge forever going on, right? There's a lot going on. I've seen some of you break it into 2 different forevers, and that's totally fine. That's great. But what's going on is this is the keys, making it so I'll change my speed as I hit my keys and move. And this is where I'm pointing. And this is keeping track of what position I'm at and letting other people know. And this is making it so that when I go off the side, I appear on the other side. When I go down to the bottom, I appear on the top. So I just keep my movements that way. So it's all a big movement block. This is a huge movement block. Now in here, at some point, I have to figure out if I ever touch a rock. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another when I receive start game, and I'm going to start sensing if I hit a rock. I have to always be checking this. This isn't something you just check one time and then you're good. You always have to be checking. And so I'm going to go events when I receive start game. Another thing I want to be testing when I receive start game, and what I'm going to test is, am I touching a rock? So control has if, and sensing has touching. Now I don't want touching mouse pointer because that's always going to happen, right? Because it'll happen regularly, probably. That's not a problem. So I can click on that down box and I can go rocks. If touching rocks, then I want this guy to die, right? There isn't a die button, right? But we have to be thinking about the user. What does the user want to see when they quote die? Now, what they want to see is they want to see this rocket ship blow up or disappear, right? So I'll just tell you, I don't want to do this. This will take too much of our time. If you want him to blow up, create image that has fire on it or something, right? And you can have this, you can switch costume to the burning rocket ship, but that's not the important part. The important part is then they want it to disappear. And so that's super easy because we've done this before. We go to looks and then we go to hide. So that's it. Now, this isn't going to work. If we run this, we know if you've played around with this, you might be thinking you know why. It's because this isn't yellow. This isn't running. Right? We're not constantly checking. We checked at the beginning and we weren't touching it, and so then we're good. And this script ends. So if we want it to constantly be checking, we have to go to forever. Okay? Forever. It's forever going to hide. And so now we'll see this works great. It's going to get touched, poof, and it's gone. That gives the appearance of death, right? They're gone. And so we should probably track this. And so I want to go to variables, and I'm going to, oh, I got a lot of variables. I'm going to add another variable. Variables are cheap, okay? They are very cheap on memory. They take up very little space. And so I'm going to create a variable called, maybe not death, maybe lives, okay? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is at the beginning of the game, when I receive start game, I'm going to set lives to, so this is before the forever. Don't do it in the forever because then you'll forever be setting lives. Set, not Apple, hit set lives to, I don't know, what's a good number? 3. 3 lives. You get 3 lives before it's over. And then when we touch the rock, it's forever sensing, then we should probably change lives by -1. So change lives by -1. And now let's try this again. Oh, it's not showing. So looks, the beginning, we have to show it. We've hidden it one time, and now it's always hidden. So when I receive start game, I want to show. So let's start the game. Now he's showing. This is great. What a wonderful game. Oh, now he's dead, and lives went to 2. Okay, you notice that lives stopped, went at 2, and when we start the game, it's back at 3, because at the beginning of the game, we show him, set lives to 3. All right, and back to 2. This is great. It's okay that it's not working perfectly. We haven't made it work perfectly. What's next? The next thing we want to do is we want to show him again at some point, right? And so at what point do we want to show him again? I don't know. We probably want a little delay in there. And so let's make the delay 1 second. Wait 1 second. And then what do we want to do? Show. And so we know we want to show him. And so let's see what this looks like. So run it like that because it's fun. Oh, wow, how did I miss? There you go. Oh, identifying some problems, right? I'm at -2 lives. There's one problem. Another problem is I show and I'm still moving. Yikes. It is really hard to control this. Oh, it's a mess. Okay. Okay, that's good. We identify little errors. And that's good. That's what we're doing. And so what do we need to do? When we die, we need to reset basically everything. And so let's reset the speed. So those are in our variables. What I want to show you is we really want to do the exact same things that we did here. Set the X speed to 0, set Y speed to 0, set size to 20, costume, go to location, point in direction. We want to reset everything, right? How do we do just this again? I'm going to show you something new and awesome. It's called blocks. So go to the pink thing at the bottom. It's called My Blocks and say make a block. And we want this block to be reset rocket. Okay, let's make a block that resets the rocket because we want to do this multiple times in different locations, right? And so I'm going to go here. I'm going to drag all of this under reset rocket. Okay, drag that back. So hopefully you can see what I did there. I took all this reset stuff. I also want to have show there. I want it to show when I reset the rocket. And then I don't need to do all this stuff. And so at the beginning of the game, we're going to reset the rocket. Well, right now we're not doing it. We put it in a different code. When is this reset rocket going to run? Whenever we tell it to. We made our own block. And so when I start the game, I'm going to reset the rocket. 0 speed, 20%, right? That's the costume we want. This is the location. That's the direction we want. And we're going to show. Okay, we're going to do it at the beginning of the game. That's perfect. When else should we do that? Well, let's do that after he dies. So how do we redo all of that code? We just grab this little reset rocket, and right before we show him, let's just reset it. And that's going to be so clean. And we can do this anytime we want. And so this is just twice, but we want to eliminate as much repeated code as possible. And this is a way we can do it. The reset rocket is we call this a function, a great function, right? That we can build. It's a few lines of code, and that way we don't have to repeat. So you can use those as much as you want. I'll encourage them, and they're always allowed to be used in your code. You die, and you reset, just like the beginning. And lives go down by 1 each time. This is great. You can die as much as you want. What a fantastic game, right? Okay, we didn't change. Like, we should have a lot of confidence that our bullets are still working because we didn't change that. So once you get used to coding, you can have a lot of confidence in your code because you know you know what you've changed or what you haven't, and you know it's going to work. Okay, this is awesome. Minus 2. Yeah. So the problem is I can get to negative lives. That's not good. So we have to also check whether or not our game is over, right? Um, and there's a few ways to do this. Uh, but what I'm going to do is I'll show a simple one first. In control, I'm going to grab this if, and I'm only going to show the rocket if he's not totally dead, if he's not out of lives. Okay, so the show is a nice way to totally end the game because if we don't show the rocket, they can't play anymore. If it's hidden, they can't play. So let's only show it if, and anytime you have an if, you probably need an operator. Um, and what I'm going to do is greater than, and let's go to variables. If are oh, lives are greater than 0, then we'll show. So let's do this one more time. Let's kill this guy. There's 1 life, 2 life, 3 lives. Well, that didn't work. Oh, right. Reset rocket shows it. Well, that's a problem. Okay, well, that's pretty simple then. Let's get rid of the show. And we're only going to reset the rocket if lives are greater than 0. So let's try one more time. Little bug. So if you didn't catch that, it's because reset rocket, this little block we have here, has the show in it. There we go. And now we're at 0, and now we don't reset the rocket because our lives are not greater than 0, and this game is over. Obviously, you would like this to look better, right? We would like all of these rocks to go away. Um, and so how do we do that? We probably want that to happen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, this is very much like our story. We got to communicate with everybody that this game is over. And so the same way we broadcasted start game to start the game, if lives are not greater than 0, then the game is over. So I've got to do a little bit of work. So I'm pulling out this if, and so I like all these things. If lives are greater than 0, we do want to reset the rocket, but what if they're not, the rocket, sorry. So let's go back to control, and there's this if then else block. So check out this if then else, okay? And so if lives are greater than 0, let's put it, so it's very much just like what we did. If lives are greater than 0, we're going to reset the rocket. What if lives are not? That's the else. Okay, so if lives are not greater than 0, then the game is over. So we're going to broadcast a new message called game over. Now, a new message called game over. All right, so if lives are greater than 0, reset the rocket. Otherwise, broadcast game over. In our forever loops, we're forever checking right after we change. Oh no, I did that not in the forever. In the if statement. After we change the lives, that's when we want to check. Are lives still greater than 0? Then reset the rocket. Otherwise, let's broadcast game over. And then we're not resetting the rocket. The rocket's hidden. That's taken care of. What else? What do we need to do? Basically, it's the rocks. We got to get rid of the rocks. And for me, the diamond too. But I'm just going to do the rocks. You're going to see a bug in mine that my diamonds keep popping up, but that's not a big deal. I need to get rid of my rocks. How do I get rid of the rocks? In this forever, we delete the clone if we're touching the laser. For me, I also delete the clone if I'm touching an apple. Okay, and we have to delete the clone if it is broadcasted. And so when I receive game over, this is how we know that game over has been broadcasted. When I receive game over, what do we want to do? We'll probably delete this clone. Let's see if this works. I actually can't even remember if this works. It'd be nice if it did. So why not try? That's the beauty of programming, is you can just try stuff. There's no consequence to doing something that doesn't work. Boom. Oh, and then they start coming again. So it worked for a bit. It worked for a little bit. And then but they keep coming. That's the problem. So how do we stop the other clones So if we do that again, I should have highlighted this, but look how this is yellow, right? This is running, and because it's running, it's continuing to make clones. And then when the game's over, it deletes all the clones that are alive, but this keeps running and creating clones. Now that's a problem. And so how do we stop this script? Well, I'm going to show you this block here. This is under control. There's a stop all. And if you drop down, there's stop this script. And if we put this here, this would stop the script, this one. But we want this script to stop when it receives game over. This is when we know that it's game over. And so, but we don't want this script to stop, we want this one. So we can do stop other scripts in this sprite. If you do stop all, it stops all the scripts in all the sprites. That we definitely don't want. Okay, and that you almost never want. That is a total loss of control as a programmer. So I don't know when you use that. I've never found a good spot really. Stop other scripts in this sprite. We want all the rocks to stop and then delete the clone. That's what we're going to do. So let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. The rocks are gone and they stay gone. That's awesome. When lives go to 0, it all stops. I could do the same thing with my diamond, and I will, but I don't need to show you that. It'll be the same thing actually. I can just take this and drag it into my diamond. Well, and if I go to my diamond, there it is. When I receive game over, stop this script, stop other scripts, and you see the diamond will also stop. That's fantastic. Okay, so that's done. We have lives, and we're able to stop the game. And the thing is, when you do game over, you can also switch the background in order to do all kinds of things. This broadcasts the end of the game. What do you want to do? And in order to restart the game, you just have to broadcast start the game, right? And so hopefully you've caught that and you can do those things. Last thing I want to do is count lives. So how do we, count score. So score, I'm going to go to my rocket ship. I want to track the score, so I'm going to make another variable. I'm going to call it score. At the beginning of the game, what should the score be? 0. Okay, so here's a spot where we set the lives to 3. I think that's a great spot to set score. When I receive start game, I'm going to set my score to 0. So you always have to think of somewhere to initialize your variable. Okay, make sure it's 0 at the beginning of the game. So every time you restart the game, your score will be 0. And now we want it to go up by 1 every time we get a kill. How do we know we destroy an asteroid? Well, the asteroid is a good spot for that, right? And so where do we know that it has been destroyed? A few places, right? We know anytime we delete the clone, if touching laser, then delete the clone, that means we scored a point. So I'm going to change right before you delete the clone, track the fact that it just got destroyed, so change score by 1. Okay, score. And one other spot, I know if I get hit by an apple, then I also here right before I delete the clone, that means I got another score, and so I go up by 1. So it's just a pretty simple use of variables. And now we should see I start my score at 0, and now I got 1. Okay, 2, 3, 4. So it's working pretty good. If I use the apples, so try to test everything. 5, 6. So it works pretty good. Well, perfect. I shouldn't say pretty good. Perfect. And now the next thing to test, you want to try to test all the most difficult things, like what could possibly happen that would make your score not work. Oh, I don't have a reset yet. So when you have a reset, make sure it resets your score to 0, right? So try to test every possible situation so that you know that your code works all the time. But that's it. I've got a score. I've got lives and score. Now, I don't mind having these shown. I might show them like over here because you might as well show these. These are variables you want the user to see. All right, that's it for today's lesson. All right, so we've got lives, we've got score. Your next project is just going to be to finish out your game. We have a functioning game now, but your gameplay might not be complete. You might want to add little features. You do want to add little features. You want to make a game that's really cool. And so we'll talk more in class about what that looks like. And you will have to show this game to someone. And that's going to be a lot of fun, getting some feedback. So enjoy working on Asteroid.